I've really had a difficult time thinking about how to introduce this episode of Only Weird Games. It's the cold open ahead of another AFC Championship game, and there's just so much to pick from. We could lean on, of course, 7 consecutive for the Kansas City Chiefs, back at Arrowhead again. That's unbelievable. Another matchup between the greatest quarterbacking rivalry of this era between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, two quarterbacks who have not turned the ball over as of late, who have become both superheroes and very trustworthy with the football. A couple of defenses playing some pretty good football with some extremely interesting matchups at different places. We got some great pass rushers, some great defensive linemen. Of course, the greatest tight end of all time is playing in this game, and what could be his final game or his last couple final games, who's to say? There's obviously a lot more around the Kelsey family that I feel like we could continue to lean into. I'm really excited that, get another day of Jalen Watson being back in this defense and Charles Omenihu with another AFC Championship game, a chance for redemption after being hurt in last year's version of it. Seth, there's just so many narratives to latch onto in this game.
Yeah, but what about the refs?
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Yes, indeed! Only Weird Games, just days away from the AFC Championship game, the 2025 edition of Chiefs and Bills in Arrowhead, for the right to go to New Orleans for another Super Bowl for the Chiefs, or to break generational curses for the Buffalo Bills. We're here to break it down with you. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, Nate Taylor will join in progress. I believe he's currently on his way back from Arrowhead because it's one of those weeks and one of those games. And so much on the line, Seth! There's so much on the line!
There's so much on the line that right now there is a team with, look, I'll say it, with great fans. Buffalo Bills have great fans. Yeah, you're going to run into some people online that you don't really like, but that's the internet. Look, I'll be honest. There's Chiefs fans online that aren't that nice to me either. So, I mean, just is what it is. But you've got a team with great, loyal fans that it has been so devastated in the past. They've had a documentary made about their failure. Do you have any idea how hard you have to fail for a documentary to be made about it? Like, that's kind of incredible.
It either has to be a huge failure or, depending on your way of looking at it, a series of successful murders.
Yeah.
Those are your quickest paths to documentaries.
Absolutely. You either, but like even like success, like murders, you successfully did it. But like in terms of failures, almost every documentary you've ever seen has largely been about someone succeeding at something.
It's a great point.
The Bills' failures are legendary, and this is not like what I do.
It's like
with Bengals
Firefest.
fans.
It's like Firefest is the only other example of that. And also, just while we're here, I'd like to go ahead and say that KC Sports Network and Only Weird Games have a hardline stance. We're anti-murder, just in case that was unclear here in the opening moments.
It's a good thing for people to be aware of. It's a strong stance to take.
I hate speaking for you in terms of, politics, morality. You've got a million children. I'm certain, I don't want to put opinions on you, but I was pretty confident we shared that one.
Yeah,
if it's a commandment, I figured it was safe.
So that's a good way to look at things. You kind of got me on that one. So that is a huge story. That is, you have a fan base that, even taking out how short they've fallen during this time period of Bills' success, they've been a hugely successful team year after year and keep running into a Patrick Mahomes-shaped wall in the playoffs, except one year where the Bengals just ran them over and then, lost to the Chiefs. But these things happen. And so with the Bills, any chance to say something about the Bengals, that'll do. Bills fans, I respect you. You've held the line. That's a huge storyline. And of course, all you can find online, for the most part, is people who want to argue back and forth about the refs. We are not going to do much of that during this show. I've been guaranteed 90 seconds to provide Chiefs fans with everything they need to refute everything you've heard. I can do that for you and provide you with the resources, but that should not be the primary focus here. You've got a team chasing history with a three-peat. You've got the greatest tight end to ever live and the greatest playoff pass catcher to ever live, trying to add to his legacy. Potentially every week now, playing his last game. Like, I'm not trying to be whatever, but that's just true. You have Patrick Mahomes, one of the three greatest playoff quarterback performers of all time, ready to seize the mantle to where no one really, at this point, is anyone really arguing it's anyone but Mahomes and Brady? Maybe not. But you know what? Joe Montana, shout out to you. Let's say he hasn't completely seized the reins there. This is a chance to do it. There's so much going on here. DeAndre Hopkins, an NFL Hall of Famer, first ballot, is got a chance for a Super Bowl ring. There's so many great narratives. There's so much to talk about. And that's just if you leave out the ball. You've got two well-coached teams that are disciplined, that are playing their best football. There is so much to this. They're familiar with each other. They've played each other so many times. It's like a division rival at this point. Like, Josh Allen has seen Spags so many times that, man, he must hate that dude.
Has to, right? Has to.
And I'm guessing Spags must hate Josh Allen a little bit because he said, he's like, that guy's really tough to game plan for. In the 13-second game, I mean, that's the worst we've ever seen Spags' defense get scorched. And they still won the game, which is so funny to me. But be that as it may, there's so much going into this game. There's so much ball. There's two teams that are excellent teams. I don't feel like anyone should realistically feel gypped. I think these are the two best teams in the AFC. I think they have been all year. I think Baltimore was the most hyped team in the AFC. That how does anyone possibly beat this team other than the 5 teams that did it in the regular season? I mean, it's hard to say, but apparently somehow it happened again on the back a little bit of some controversial calls that no one cared about because Kansas City wasn't playing because NFL refs are bad. And bad things happen in every game. But whatever. I'm happy for the Bills. I'm happy they got a shot there. And yeah, there's so much ball to talk about. I don't even know where to start. So I'm glad you're here.
Well, that's okay, because I have a couple places I'd like to start. We will get into some of the nitty-gritty of it all. I still haven't found a way to get my like custom embroidered, storylines crew neck yet. So in the absence of Nate here, you kind of taking that path on some of the real big picture kind of legacy stuff or the Mahomes and who kind of territory. I think I was talking to Carrington about this earlier, and I think Mitch Holthus a bit on just before, and I think Mitch said, if I'm misquoting him slightly, I apologize, but I believe that Mitch Holthus said that this is the biggest game in Arrowhead Stadium history. And I think I would put it second. Personally, I'm. Don't worry, Seth. I'm willing to mildly disagree with Mitch Holthus first. I understand where he's coming from. Historically speaking, this could be, but I think the 2019 Chiefs-Titans AFC Championship game is the one that certainly resonates the most as of right now. Right? Where that to me that felt like breaking a curse. The chills. This is such a spoiled thing, but I'm going to finish the sentence as I was thinking it. The chills I got through that game, I haven't had that exact same feeling since, despite the fact the Chiefs keep going back to Super Bowls. But that to me, Nick, who's producing the show for us today because Tucker's on the road, Nick said I cried at the Titans game, or after the Titans game.
Yeah. That
to me felt, again, like a curse breaking. Like something that I wasn't supposed to see. Like I didn't think I ever would, So that to me, and again, Nick says this, I'm in a similar boat. That game almost got as much of a rise out of me as the Super Bowl did, because we got 2 weeks of pageantry. The Chiefs were going to the Super Bowl. I had confidence going in the Chiefs-Titans on the Chiefs winning that game, but once they got to the Super Bowl, it kind of felt like they were supposed to be there on some level for me. Not that anything was guaranteed. Do not hear me be revisionist that way. But the AFC Championship game against the Titans, to me, is just encased in perfect glass that I can always look back at how I felt at that time, and I hope I can keep that feeling. If they beat the Bills on Sunday, I don't think anyone's going to have that feeling. But it could set them up for absolutely definitive NFL history. Now, there's still another game to be had after that. Again, I am concerned that maybe I'm slightly misquoting Mitch, so please don't address that directly to me. This isn't a Seth and Charles Minahu situation. I'm doing my best to represent it fairly. But the other thing, and you can just take this whole package of legacy things wherever you want. To the Mahomes point, I saw some tweet within the last couple of days about like, how much does this mean for Mahomes' legacy? And in some ways, the next 2 games mean a ton for Patrick Mahomes' legacy. And in other ways, very, very little. Josh Allen needs to get to a Super Bowl. And then really, he needs to win one, right? That cloud will follow him. Nobody's going to say, well, yeah, Mahomes never won 3 in a row, because nobody ever said that to Brady either, because no one's ever done that, right? Mm-hmm. Mahomes has a ton to gain and almost nothing to lose, in my view of his personal legacy. That is still divorced from what the actual game means for the team. I think it's kind of an amazing place to take that 30,000-foot view on.
Absolutely. The Bills have much more to lose here. Now, The Bills are at a certain stage in team building that they should probably feel pretty confident that they'll have more shots. Although if Joe Brady gets a job somewhere, you got to reset the clock. And that's one advantage the Chiefs have had, is that the sauce is Andy Reid, not, his coordinator. Like, the Lions losing Ben Johnson. That's a big deal, right? They should feel like they've got a lot of chances to come back over and over. But 4 in a row, 4 is a terrible number for the Bills.
Yep.
Just like wide right was a terrible way for them to lose a game. Objectively speaking, the Bills will be able to build and continue to build, but they already have this enormous monkey on their back in the form of Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Yep. And if they lose again with a team that's like it's the same stuff that we heard about Lamar Jackson last year before the AFC Championship. This time, it'll be different. This time, and honestly, the same stuff we heard about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens this year. This time it'll be different. This time we have this. This time they've got a much better run game. This time they've got a much better offensive line, which worries me. That these are all reasons the Chiefs could lose. Their offensive line, some of the snaps where Josh Allen just drops back and is just looking around the field. And part of it is because of the way people have to pass rush him. They're worried about him breaking contain and all that. But it is incredible the job their O-line is doing this year. Hats off to them. So they've got reasons to believe, but it's supposed to be different this year, right? Defense is playing better, more or less. I think people are forgetting about the stretch during the regular season where people were like, that defense can't win a Super Bowl, which people forgot about with the Lions too. Yep. Until the Lions ran into the Commanders. And suddenly not being able to get a crucial stop matters a ton. We'll see. Ed Oliver and Von Miller playing great ball right now. That's all you need. So there's a lot going into it, but if they just have so much to lose here because now you're starting right over from the beginning again. And you got to hope all these things go right again. And I read it in a piece. I'm trying to remember who wrote it, and I feel bad that I don't. But the phrasing of it was, people who watched the NBA in the 90s, they remember 3 kinds of players. People who played with Michael Jordan, people who Michael Jordan beat, and Michael Jordan. Mm. That's who mattered and look, there were some incredible players in the 90s, Hall of Famers, like all that stuff. But that really is, the 90s was Michael Jordan's decade. And if Mahomes is able to beat the field in the AFC again, that's just a real, it just sets everyone back so far in the AFC. And so I really don't, I think, like you said, the Chiefs don't have a ton to lose here. Mahomes right now has had a Hall of Fame career. If tomorrow he said, football's too easy, I'm done. He's in the Hall of Fame, first ballot, unanimous. No one's questioning it. The interesting thing, he could start right now if you're so inclined. One of the things about Tom Brady that made him so incredible, he had 2 Hall of Fame careers. Right. And that's incredible. Jerry Rice, same thing.
Jerry Rice might have had 3.
Yeah, Jerry Rice was dang close to 3. The thing with Brady, one of the reasons why he had 2 Hall of Fame careers was his longevity, which is unlike anything anyone's ever done. We'll see what Mahomes does. But Mahomes could, in theory, you could view, it would be part of a three-peat, but you could view this year as the start of a second Hall of Fame career. And it would also give him a decade head start on Tom Brady's 7. Now he's over halfway's there. Now he's done 3 in a row. Now he's done the GOAT arguments start in earnest, like really in earnest, which means you're going to hear so much more about the flags and the refs, which coming from Patriots fans,
which Tom Brady never got the benefit from. That never happens.
It's so amazing coming from Patriots fans. Honestly, you'd think Patriots fans would be more chill about that kind of thing because they heard a lot about it. They heard a lot about it when it wasn't fair, and they heard a lot about it when it was fair. That second dynasty, honestly, the Chris Jones call was egregious in the AFC Championship, but at the end of the day, the Chiefs had a chance to stop him overtime and couldn't do it. Right? That's what happened. They lost. You benefit from some calls when you're a great team, whatever, but you'd think Patriots fans would be like, I mean, that first run, obviously they had it coming. Like everyone knows all the Tuck rule, all that stuff. So the ceiling becomes so high with Patrick Mahomes' career, the 30,000 feet in the air, the legacy for everyone. It's like last year made a dynasty undeniable. This year, you win it all. You are the greatest dynasty in NFL history. And anyone who wants to argue with it is just being stupid. Right. And that's an incredible thing.
This is an aside, but I had to pull this up. And we got a super chat here from Oldsters Overland. I'm headed to the game on Sunday and have taken the responsibility of being loud on another level personally. Everyone else should too. I bet that Arrowhead will be ready for that assignment. And of course, we always appreciate the super chats that benefit the KCSN Foundation. This is latching onto a very small thing you mentioned in passing there, Seth, because I had to go ahead and look at this career box score again. Is putting up 1,200 yards at age 40 the craziest thing anyone's ever done? Because Jerry Rice did that. I don't mean is that the craziest thing in football. I mean, is that the craziest thing in human evolution? That 40-year-old Jerry Rice had 92 catches for 1,211 yards in 2002, catching passes from Rich Gannon.
That is so crazy. That
5 years older than Travis Kelce is right now.
Yeah, that is absolutely banana stuff. And man, you could not have found a better fit for 40-year-old Jerry Rice than Rich Gannon's Raiders offense, could you? Yeah. It's like, look, man, you are going to get so many targets, and none of them are going to be more than 7 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. Like,
and then you got 40-year-old Yak. It's unbelievable.
That is absolutely incredible.
Let's go ahead and spin it into some of the specifics here for Chiefs Bills and the offense in particular for Kansas City. I do not think that they're going to be able to run back last week's offensive performance and beat Buffalo. I am a strong believer in the Chiefs defense in ways that I hope that I can explain as we go throughout the show today. I'm relatively optimistic about how the defense will perform, even as also a longtime lover of the way Josh Allen plays football. But you can't get through another day with 0 catches for Hollywood Brown and DeAndre Hopkins. That, to me, feels like the evident place to start. But I'm also curious about how the Bills are going to defend the Chiefs. I think, as we talked about on Tuesday, a little bit of schematic stuff in there of the Texans have great corners. We're going to go Travis Kelce in the middle of the field. You know, Matt Milano has completely locked down Travis Kelce many, many times before. I'm sure he'll do it many, many more times. He says sarcastically, it's a long-running. This show's talked about Matt Milano a lot. But if the Bills, as I think they probably historically have, start with Travis Kelce, then maybe there's an opportunity for Hollywood or Hopkins to take on that larger role. So how do you foresee that going?
This is the game where the wideouts improving from 2023 matters the most. They were a better team than Houston. It was apparent. They're better coached. They're more disciplined. The gap in special teams was extraordinary. The gap between Bobby Slowick and Steve Spagnuolo was extraordinary. They just were more ready for the moment. You could just see it. Like that was fairly apparent. The Bills have been here before. And yeah, they've lost the AFC Championship. I get that. But they have plenty of playoff experience. They're young teams, so not all the same guys are there, but they've got plenty of guys that have been there before. They got guys that are veterans. They've got coaches that are veterans that have been here before. So you can't count on them to shoot themselves in the foot. And which is something that's just worth noting in terms of improving the Chiefs' offensive performance. And this is going to be big for the Bills too. Neither the Bills nor the Chiefs have shot themselves in the foot much during the playoffs. Not in like really big ways. And that was one thing where the Chiefs really did have a cleaner performance against Houston, even though the offense wasn't great or even particularly good, but they did not shoot themselves in the foot much. You could argue Hollywood Brown's drop would be one, but in terms of like stupid penalties, turnovers, like that, I think if one team wins the turnover battle in this game, I think that's going to be really tough for the other team to overcome, unless it's like maybe by one or something. You know what I mean? Like that's just going to be tough. I think for the Chiefs, it stems to those wide receivers. My assumption is, like you said, Buffalo is going to focus on Travis Kelce. They can't let him do this to them again. They can't. Like what happened with Houston, that was one of the funnier like things about the game that got lost in some of the other dialogue was like you had a playoff game against Kansas City and it didn't start with stopping Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
What a weird thing to do. That'd be like the equivalent of if let's say they play Buffalo and Buffalo's game plan is to not slide protections or give any extra attention to Chris Jones all game. She's like, nope, you know what we've decided? We're going to make sure those other guys don't beat us. But Jones, we'll see if he can get his. It's like, okay. It's just such a crazy game plan. I assume the Bills will try to lock down the middle of the field. They'll try to send help that direction. Maybe Houston just saw that Kelce didn't have a great season for him and was like, no, they revolve their offense around other people. I don't know. But the Chiefs need the receivers to step up. They need the guys to step up on the boundaries. They need them to win some one-on-one matchups in man coverage. They need to get DeAndre Hopkins involved. They need to get Hollywood Brown involved. And they need, most of all, Xavier Worthy, count me in as believing that, he's the focal point. Fair enough. We didn't even talk about that catch he made down the left sideline against the Texans. He has just grown and grown and grown and grown as a player, and it's been so much fun to watch. But they need those guys. This is where, how are you different than you were last year? Because last year you were able to survive because Rashee Rice stepped up. Okay, who's going to step up? You need someone to. And Worthy stepped up to an extent against Houston, but they're going to need more. You're going to need more than what they got here. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. But if they don't get better protection than they got against the Texans, it's going to be really hard for those receivers to make a huge difference because the Bills, I assume, are going to have a similar game plan in that they are going to attack the line of scrimmage. They're going to attack some of that quick game stuff and dare them to make them pay over the top. That's what I think they're going to do, and they're going to have to protect. They're going to have to play enough games up front that don't get sniffed out in terms of rolling pockets, quick throws, all that stuff. But they are going to have to hit a couple of shots over the top. And it's the same of whatever team they play in the Super Bowl. If they're able to beat the Bills, it's going to be the same thing there. You're not going to get away with just dinking and dunking and barely making it through in a few times. You are probably going to need to score 27, even on a good Spags day, to beat this Bills team.
I wrote down my score before we started, and I think you're going to need to score at least 27. Yeah. I want to come back around to the protection and both how that impacted the Texans game and what that needs to look like and what the adjustments are there. We heard from Joe Thuney today at the podium, which never happens because I think his power source is in the locker room. So they got to put a little battery pack on him to get ready at the podium. He just seems like the nicest robot. Like even he made a joke at the end of the presser today, and I was like, wow, like I know via Nate that Joe Thuney can make jokes. I just very rarely get to hear them firsthand. And joke is even kind of generous, but the room laughed. Something that I have had written at the top of my notepad over here for multiple days that I have not done anything with. I've not said it on this show. I've not said it on the radio. I've not written it yet, but you just touched on it, and I mentioned it towards the beginning in the open. the margin for error is so small for this game for both teams.
Yes.
Because the other team is very good at shrinking down the margin for error by not making mistakes in this time of year. I have to add that addendum at the end because you've got an entire mini-series on the Chiefs' self-inflicted wounds. You get 3 cracks at that every season, it feels like, but then you're never able to write one of those, let's say, after Christmas. Yep. I think you got one last year. But
yeah, not since 2021.
January comes around and it's like, okay, no, this is not really how this team plays anymore. I read you the stat last week of the Chiefs being on the longest turnover-free streak in NFL history in the Super Bowl era, which seems absolutely bonkers. But the thing that I think, if you just kind of have like your pre-baked Josh Allen understanding, not even your takes on him, but like if you just are thinking about Josh Allen as the guy you've seen throughout his NFL career, there was version 1 was just like pure chaos and fun, but not somebody who was totally in command of his own offense, right? Like,
yep.
There was an evolution there where he began to weed out some of the mistakes, and Buffalo gave him some more weapons, and I think he and Mahomes, being this physically talented and this young and this mentally advanced in the art of quarterbacking, is so cool. And I don't think something we had a real rivalry with 10 or 15, like one quarterback generation prior. Everything just moves so much faster now, it seems like, both like development and defenses, I guess. But this version of Josh Allen has been downright careful with the football. He has been a good steward of where the ball goes, even when he does definitely want to pitch it while he is wrapped up in the midst of a tackle. That urge is still there, but he has not actually been putting the ball in harm's way. He's not throwing it just as many touchdowns as picks. So I am very enticed by this game as, oh, Seth's got a phone call. That's okay. Yeah, do your thing. I can monologue. As long as Seth's muted, then we're good. You can step off if you want, or you can even, Nick, I don't know if you want to click his mic or if you put him in the waiting room. I'll go full screen and monologue. I don't care. My office might be a mess. We can just watch Seth talk, I guess. But for all of the things that we have to beat the previous dead horse, for all the things that we have lost to a week of ref talk, this is actually a really good time to have a week of quarterback talk. They don't go head to head. They do not step on the field at the same time. But they do have like this peak of quarterbacking power. There we go. Oh boy, we're looking at me through windows now. If you're only listening to this, you'd have no way of knowing. Is there anything back here? You can see my insulin in my big cup. That's okay. My backdrop always is pretty much ready for TV. We just don't use it all anymore. This is such an exciting matchup at such an exciting time where the Bills have a chance to break their own history while the Chiefs are trying to make new NFL history. That is an the inflection point of this football game will shape not only months of discussions, but years of narratives around these quarterbacks and where they go from here. And I think that's just absolutely remarkable. I don't know. Sean in the chat says Seth's being the guy who fakes the important phone call. Gross. Yeah, I saw it was at Ozzy that said, "This is my dream. Thank you." If you want only weird host singular, maybe, then that can just be me. Listen, Seth, we all respect the fact that Spags had a question. He had to buzz you up real quick. He needed to figure out, should they spy Josh Allen and with who? So I appreciate you taking the call for the greater good.
You know what? I do what I can just to help out everyone. I am so sorry about that. The car's at the shop, and it called for the second time in 10 minutes. I was like, uh-oh, that ain't good. But we are good to go now. And so I wish I had a good story to make up about why
Seth,
I was on
how's
the phone.
Andy Heck doing? That's very good from Pazlo.
Yeah, I was on the phone with Andy Reid saying, does DJ Humphries look bad in practice? Does he look passable? Because I heard some of the stuff you were saying there. But in terms of the offense, if they can't protect Patrick Mahomes better than they did against Houston.
Oh, yeah, that's where we left off. I forgot that I was going to talk about the offensive line. Hey, Seth, are they going to protect Patrick Mahomes better than they did against Houston?
They're going to need to figure out a way to. Now, on one hand, you have not as good of ends. Although Von Miller's turned back the clock a little bit this playoffs, but he is not a pass rush winner at this point in his career the same way that Anderson especially is. Anderson was just running right through Joe Thuney's face, right? He's younger, he's stronger, long-limbed. Now, Von Miller's had a great bull rush in his day, but that's not his main way of winning. And so I think Thuney would have better luck against Miller. That's tough to say, but this isn't Von Miller, circa 2017, right? This is Von Miller circa 2025. And thank you for the chat, Seth. So does the car not like negative 23-degree weather? It does not, and it was negative 28 actually, which is just is ungodly. Like it is. That's if you want to know where Minnesotans really start talking about it, it's when you get to negative 15 or worse. And then negative 25 or worse, you would think there's not a difference, but you reach this point to where you step outside and you feel it in your core. And you're just like, I think I'm dying. Like, I need to go inside immediately.
I was underdressed walking from my car in like, I think it was feels like -3. And that took my breath away in a way that it did not when I was outside shoveling, bundled up in a nice 12 degrees. I believe that -30 or whatever is different. And also you should move.
One of the great things about negative 28 though is when it got to be like 5 degrees, we were like, oh, this is amazing. And Cancun next week's going to feel pretty terrific. So here's the thing. I assume we haven't heard anything
Burrow for me.
I assume we haven't heard anything. No one, I don't even know. Did anyone even ask Andy Reid about Joe Thuney versus DJ Humphries?
No, or not that I caught.
I think it's just assumed this is the route they're going. He got some reps with the second team right tackle. This is what they're doing. So Thuney has to have a better game than he did against the Texans. And Caliendo and Trey Smith have to hold up against Ed Oliver. That spooks me. That spooks me a lot. But all they need to do, because the protection was lousy against the Texans, absolutely lousy. All they need to have the protection be is fine. Mm-hmm. And that will allow them to play call a full offense, because we talked about this to close out the year. And you, Josh, you've known me a while. You know how much it pains me to say, turns out I was right. Like that.
Yeah, you hate this.
Is not something that I enjoy or take delight in or stay up late at night making lists of things about.
The fact that you have it within yourself to even push through that to announce when you write about something is honestly another example of your immaculate character.
It is another one. There's been a lot of them lately.
Yes.
But,
all things that you correctly predicted in advance as well about yourself.
Indeed. I knew this was all coming years and years ago. So they have not run a full offense in a month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah. Okay.
They have not unlocked the entire playbook. You're not seeing a lot of traditional drop back stuff, like 5 or 7 steps. You're just not. And you saw why against Houston when they tried it, because it went real bad. Now, you can see Mahomes trusts Thuney. He sat there in the pocket and got crushed a couple times. That was just tough. And Joe Thuney, this is no knock on him. The man's a left guard being asked to play left tackle. This is insane. They've taken a couple swings with the tackle spot 2 years in a row in the draft. It's hard to find good left tackles in the draft. It just is. Had Orlando Brown swallowed his pride and agreed to $16 million per year in Kansas City, he would still be playing left tackle in Kansas City. I'm frankly a little annoyed that that's how that went down, but whatever. Yeah. I think that's going to be one of the big things, because the Bills, I think, will protect Josh Allen pretty well. I think Spags will get his. Chris Jones is going to get his. You'll probably see a couple from Charles Omenihu.
That's the next topic.
Oh, yeah. But the pass protection on the Chiefs side has to be fine or only a little below average. They've got to be able to dial up some shot plays. They've got to loosen up the coverage. They've got to. And if they somehow don't and win, well, holy crap. Then I got nothing. And that's the funny thing with the Chiefs. This is true of the Chiefs and the Bills. You talked about the thin margin of error. Both of them have so many ways to win games. And that's the cool thing for them. The Chiefs, I could see, wouldn't it be funny if the Chiefs won this game, handing the ball off to Kareem Hunt 26 times, and he goes for $129 and 3 touchdowns? That would be hilarious. I'd worry about him afterward, but that's going to be the big thing. Pass protection, getting the run game going, which means playing Kareem Hunt early and often, as well as Samaje Perine, and not putting yourself in a hole. because this is a Bills team that if you are in a hole, they will just run the ball forever. And maybe the Chiefs can stop it. Maybe they can't.
We'll find out. We'll tell you if they can after the break.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
Reporting live from the future, it's Nate Taylor. He's already seen the games. Nate, did they win?
Not that far into the future.
Oh, okay.
Josh, but I am here. I just left Arrowhead Stadium. They have retouched the field. So it now says championship or AFC Championship on the field. Very soothing to watch new paint get put down on the on a nice NFL field. Really nice. Gets the fingers going when it comes to typing these stories, if you know what I mean.
Those hands were made for typing, baby.
That's all they are made for.
Nate, we have covered some of the 30,000 foot sort of history stories going into this game. We just talked about how the Chiefs offense can and must be better in this game. Let's go ahead and talk about the defensive side. And I'm going to go ahead and, if it works for you, Nate, I don't know the topic of it. I just know that it's happening. Are you good with letting Nate's fireside chat be the thing that sends us into the weekend, or do you need to get it off your chest right now before we get to anything else?
I could let that be the game-winning drive. Sure.
I think it should be. I think we should listen. Much like the Chiefs, I think we should save our best plays until the very end of January. So let's kick it straight into what the Chiefs will do defensively here with Josh Allen, because we heard from Steve Spagnuolo today. Nate, you were out there. It was Spags didn't give us a whole lot of great quotes, but the vibes were very good. I felt like Spags was in a good place. As the inverse is almost never true, but still, it's always a treat to get to watch Spags at the podium in the midst of a game plan for this. Good question from Rachel. Was Nate watching paint dry while simultaneously watching grass grow? Yeah, Nate's just in general a little high strung, and we need him to start doing some more kind of low intensity hobbies.
No, I mean, they did water it, so I mean, I guess there's a chance it could grow.
It was technically growing. I mean, aren't we all? In a way. We should continue, because now watching grass grow makes me think of only one place on earth, kids. What are the Chiefs?
The All England,
the Fields of Elysium
and Tennis Club. What? Huh? The All England Club? Huh?
It felt like it was gonna be. It felt like tennis had to be the source, but it wasn't what I was thinking about.
I mean, they're growing the grass now, kids, for July.
Can I really quick make everyone grateful that they cheer for the Chiefs by just reading an Adam Schefter tweet?
I would love it. I've been ignoring these for a few minutes. Please do.
Oh, God,
Buccaneers have had no contact today with Liam Cohen or his representation. The team has made multiple efforts to reach him and has not. Cohen is in Jacksonville discussing a deal to become the head coach. Man, also, Trent Baalke, tough scene, buddy.
Yeah, no, bleep, dude.
Yeah,
I'd be afraid to invite Trent Baalke over to like a birthday party right now.
Well, no, if you invited him to a birthday party at your parents' house, he would talk your parents into disowning you and somehow get your wife to divorce you and then burn everything to the ground and then convince everyone it wasn't his fault afterward. That guy's incredible. He must be so amazing in meetings. Like, we're talking, and this is a compliment. I don't know the guy. Maybe he's a really nice guy. It doesn't seem like it based on the many things we hear, but he must be unbelievable at convincing rich people that he's right and everyone else screwed it up. And that, my friends, is a talent, and it will make you a lot of money, unfortunately.
Ian Rappaport has just told us, and remember, kids, now we're getting into the weeds. The Buccaneers agreed to an extension to keep Liam Cohen as their offensive coordinator. He was going to be perhaps the highest paid offensive coordinator, reaching Vic Fangio money, as I was told earlier today. But he has not signed that contract, and he is not in Tampa.
Yeah. No, it's over. It's over, Tampa. This is happening. This is the, your significant other just went out with the girls and they just wanted to go dance. They weren't going to go meet anyone, and it's 2 a.m. and she hasn't answered her phone. Look. I've got some terrible news for you. Now, this is not what my life looks like. By the way, I'm 39 and exhausted. Honestly, if Jazz was out till 2 a.m, I'd assume she was murdered. Like,
a lot of murder talk today, Nate. I don't know if you...
Wow!
I know,
I look, if she doesn't answer your calls at 2 a.m. and she just
really got away from me,
you might want to look into that lease paperwork. Is all I'm saying. You might want to look into the lease. What
you might want to call Trip Balky and ask him what he would do, because he might have the answer for you. Actually,
right?
That analogy got away from me so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
it's sure much like kind of the Shad Khan of today's show, Seth. I'm really.
I regret everything and will fire whoever I need to fire to get you back in the building. Which, honestly, at a 2 a.m. text, if you're really trying to salvage the relationship, that's the one you send.
She said he's just a friend.
Thank you, Sean, commenter. She said he's just a friend. Oh,
yeah, bro. You might want to look at that. Yeah, get that life insurance policy updated. Get that lease figured out. It's just, hey, man, it's a tough scene.
I'm so sorry. There's something about when Nate's here, something happens to me.
Yeah. What did I do? All I want to know is, hey man, are you gonna play Nazi Johnson? And I think Steve Spagnuolo said no.
Yes, I agree. Nate. I think he said that they were gonna try to get more out of Jalen Watson and they would need everybody. And I think that means they're not gonna play Nazi Johnson if they don't have to. I think.
No, Jalen Watson, 98% of the snaps incoming.
Please.
Oh, the commenters are killing me.
It's just the guy from the gym.
I tripped and fell on his head coaching
position.
This is terrible.
Guys, it's fine. Liam Cohen said he reached out to Bucs head coach Todd Bowles to inform him of his interest in interviewing for the Jacksonville head coaching job. That's according to Adam Schefter. He said he was interested.
Yeah,
he told after the fact, baby.
I was just thinking. Bar. I left, and then they told me they were at the club, and then I had to say, well, I mean, it is the club.
Baby, I've been thinking maybe we should have an open relationship. Oh. Well, I'm not sure I agree with that. Yeah, but baby, I'm really thinking we should have an open relationship. Like, man, it's over. It's never been more over, Tampa. I'm
gonna start asking Seth follow-up questions if we don't get to talk about Leo Chanel in the next 2 minutes.
Let's do this.
Are you sure? Are you sure you want to go? I mean, look, I know this is so much Love is Blind right now, where it's like, look, you may have seen him or her.
See how pretty Baker Mayfield looked with him? Come on.
Not what you expected, okay? But you guys are compatible, okay? Like, it's going to work. You got to trust the process. I don't know who says it more, people in sports or people on Love is Blind. You got to trust the process. Trust the journey, And just because, old Trevor Lawrence with them golden locks is winking at you now that we're back in the retreat, okay? You got on that knee. You got in front of that wall and you proposed to Baker Mayfield. How can you do this to Baker Mayfield, Liam? How?
Poor Baker. He has been through a lot. And Nate, we're like 30 seconds away from Josh asking me follow-up questions.
He doesn't want to answer, if you can't tell. I also haven't given here. Maybe this will be the salve we need. Seth, you want your 90 refereeing seconds here to get us back on track, and then we can spin it straight into where we're talking about Josh Allen?
That sounds good to me. So, Chiefs
all right,
fans...
hold on. No, you don't get to start. You don't get to start yet. I gotta turn off all my notifications, and then I gotta start the timer. I'm gonna hold up a clock, and you're gonna get 90 seconds. Are you ready for 90 seconds, Seth?
Hold on, I need to find the.
Get it ready. Got a minute and a half for you
to refer people to.
Okay.
Yeah, here we go.
Great.
Just want you to be ready, so we can all be ready all together.
Go.
Action.
All right. So there's been a ton of talk about the Chiefs and the referees. One thing that you need to do, if you go to the Twitter account of Scott Kasmar, you will be able to find him on there. If you go to his Twitter account, and if you go to the Twitter account of Josh Dubow, what you will find there are all the stats that you ever needed to see that there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever statistically of anything favoring the Chiefs with regards to the refs from 2018 on or 2021 on. All the stats are there. Go find them. Every one of them is there. Now, what's going to happen thereafter is someone is going to try to tell you that there's some kind of no, it's about the way the plays occur. It's about how they occur, or they'll try to talk to you about playoff stuff. Hey, let's talk about playoff stuff really quick. Because of a certain someone, there was all this talk about how many more penalties have been on Chiefs opponents in the playoffs. Look at this giant differential. Did you know the Chiefs have 0 delay of games in their last 11 games in the playoffs? Their opponents have 5.
30.
You know why? Because they're always playing at Arrowhead. They also have a 6 penalty advantage with false starts. So that is 11 penalties that are created by the Arrowhead advantage. And so the numbers do not bear out in any way, shape, or form that the Chiefs have any sort of advantage. And if someone wants to say, it's not about how many, it's about when, then remind them on 3rd down in the overtime of the Super Bowl, the most important down of the most important game of the season last year, the Chiefs stopped the Niners. Trent McDuffie got called for a hold and extended their drive. Boom. Rigged?
A beautiful 90 seconds. Take that, haters. Hey, more like Warren Dull, am I right? Okay, let's talk about the Chiefs defense. We heard from Spags. They've got some things. We are probably seeing less Najee Johnson. We've covered this. Less 13 probably a good idea in the rematch. Charles Omenihu is back. He was not there the first iteration of this game. Josh Allen, good at football, not turning the ball over. What is the plan? Are you living out there with a ton of Leo Chanel? Are you spying Josh Allen XY% of the time? What is the plan for a Bills offense that can beat you in a number of ways that usually, but not always, does start with Josh Allen? What are they going to do, Nate?
Get a lead. Get a lead, guys. That should be step one, because as much as Josh Allen is dynamic, as much as he is incredible, as much as he has protected the football, Josh, I think the Bills' offense actually comes down to James Cook and stopping the run and making the Bills one-dimensional. And the easiest way you can do that is to obviously stop the run and get a lead as soon as possible. Because I know rewatching the first matchup isn't everything, because there are obviously new details. It is striking to me that the only time they completed passes beyond 15 yards down the field in much warmer weather than what we're going to see on Sunday was on cover 0 blitzes and one-on-one matchups involving Najee Johnson. So I think the Chiefs are the team much more capable of putting an actual cap, an actual shell over the Bills' routes, of preventing deep completions. Again, if Jalen Watson plays the majority of the game, if Trent McDuffie continues to remain excellent, and you still have, 3 good safeties to not let things get, out of control. With all that said, the team who feels the most pressure in the second half will be fascinating to watch for obvious reasons. The Bills are trying to get to the Super Bowl for the first time under this administration. Sean McDermott, Josh Allen, and the Chiefs are obviously trying to three-peat. I wonder which team can get up by double digits first. And Josh has not been put in situations where you've got to go into like hero mode, creation mode, sacrifice your body mode. I'm gonna look at the list, guys. And again, this is all somewhat analysis, somewhat trying to predict what we could see. Khalil Shakur is his best receiver.
Yep.
And it's not close.
And he's good. He's like Rashee Rice light, and not that light. Like, I mean, he is about 85-90% of Rashee Rice. And that is a compliment, because Rice is awesome.
But no one can take the top really off or should take the top off the defense, which means I think James Cook and Ty Johnson are really the keys, because if those guys are effective, now pretty much everything's available for Josh Allen, in particular his legs. I said it on Tuesday and I will say it today, and I asked Chris Jones about it, and I'm sure you heard it, Josh. But this game really, I think, comes down to Charles Omenihu and George Karlaftis. If the two of them perform the way they performed on Saturday, the Chiefs will win, because you will get consistent pressure, you will get quarterback hits, you will get a cumulative effect, again, with a lead, to pin your ears back, to make the quarterback uncomfortable, to limit the amount of times James Cook has the ball in his hands. That's my initial thoughts, because if I'm the Chiefs, I'm trying to get Trent McDuffie on Shakir as many times as possible. And if I'm the Bills, I'm trying to get that man away from Trent McDuffie at all times possible. And that's sort of the game within the game, outside the trenches and the quarterback.
And sorry, Seth, I told you could just take it from Nate here, but they haven't done that with McDuffie yet. I mean, they haven't
At all.
He spent no time in the slot last week, and he's not really following guys all the way around now. So, yeah, Seth, I'm very curious if you think that is. I don't know. I can't. I would ask either of you. Do you think they'll do that? But neither of you know, because neither of you is Steve Spagnuolo. So I don't know. But
if I were the Bills, that's one of the first things I would check.
Yeah.
Say, are you going to keep trying to make fetch happen and throw safeties into the slot to play receivers? Are you going to keep doing that? Because if you are, we will target Shakir 20 times.
You should.
And they should. They should target Knox, Kincaid and Shakir, especially. They should target them, those two, a combined 25 times if the Chiefs insist on. Now, it depends whether you're playing man or zone, but even there's just variations there. So it's not like you can never put Shamari Connor in the slot. But if Watson's all the way back, you don't have to. And with what McDuffie did to Nico Collins when it was just him and Nico Collins, this is – and Shakir's an interesting matchup. He's a tough guy to defend, but McDuffie's a perfect guy for it because so much of what he does is based on his quickness, his explosion, and his yak. When was the last time when someone catches the ball when Trent McDuffie's covering them, he's always there.
Right.
There is no yak, only Zool. What were you going to say, Nate?
I was also going to tell Khalil Shakir, if he's hearing this or if someone gets this to him, this is not from the game in November. This is the game last year in the division round. Hey, Khalil, you might want to identify where 20 is, because he's going to try to detonate you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
He's January.
Also, now there's a 21.
Right. And
who will try to do the same.
Yeah. And last year in the division round, if people forget, Justin Reed tried to detonate this man. And then, like, 2 plays later, I may get the sequence wrong, but then 2 plays later, Drew Tranquil was like, I want to detonate him. To where he was detonated. He had to leave the game momentarily, and Stephon Diggs dropped the most important pass in the Bills season.
It was kind of underthrown, honestly. I'm kidding. It was like 70 yards in the air.
Throw.
So what can you do? Like, yeah, it's like, well, was it underthrown? Technically, yes, but that's a great throw for right there.
But who do you think Stephon Diggs is? Playoff Marquez Valdez-Scantling? I mean, come on.
Man, you know what? It would have been a heck of a thing if MVS was a free agent right now. It would
or
have
still
been
a
so
Bill.
funny.
He's been a Bill more recently than he's been a Chief,
It just would have been the funniest thing ever, though, if, somehow it hadn't worked out with the Saints. And I think he did pretty well over there. Hats off to him. It would be the funniest thing ever if you were a free agent right now. And Bills fans would have panicked, legitimately so, if the Chiefs signed MVS this week. I think they would have. I would have if I were them.
Not as much as Chiefs fans would have.
That playoff MVS? Get out, man. That's like Monday Night Football Randy Moss. So here's what I would say in slowing down Josh Allen. This is part of it, but it also goes to the overall game in general. Players who missed the first KC Buffalo game. On the Bills side, it was Travis Kelce stopper, Matt Milano, Spencer Brown. Now, and hey, Matt Milano's a good backer, so that matters. Spencer Brown, that matters a ton. Big part of their identity. He's played really well this year.
Right tackle,
Dalton Kincaid, big deal. Really big deal. Keon Coleman, not as big of a deal, but he's caught some of those downfield lobs.
Yeah,
that
he
kind
can
of
be
stuff.
he can be a one-on-one guy that pushes the defender into the mush and gets a flag. He can be one of those guys.
He could do that, but you know what? I'm just going to say this in advance. The Chiefs could lose on the most egregious call ever, and the only thing I'll say is, hey, I guess it's not rigged. Let's talk about why the Chiefs actually lost the game and not the refs. And anyway,
hold you to
and
that,
then
sir.
Dwayne Smoot was also out for the Bills. For the Chiefs, you've got Isaiah Pacheco, who I still don't think is 100% right now, but you've also got Hollywood Brown, Jalen Watson, Charles Omenihu, Harrison Butker. And the Butker thing mattered that game. Not as much. There was one other game where it mattered even more, where you had like a missed field goal and all this stuff. But that matters. The Omenihu, Watson, Brown trio, and then you look at the Bills with the Milano, Brown, Kincaid, Coleman, foursome. Very different setups, very different dynamics. If I'm Spags, I trust Watson outside. I trust Josh Williams as much as I can outside, and you let Trent McDuffie follow around Shakir, who has been their best receiver by a country mile, and then you figure it out everywhere else. You can also punish them for some of the, they love to bring in a 6 offensive linemen. Mm-hmm. They love to just run the ball from those looks with, you've heard this before, condensed formations. The Chiefs are awesome.
And some 4x1 condensed formations too, which is a bit.
Those 4x1 condensed formations are sick. Those are so cool. Joe Brady's been really in his bag with that. I'm curious. Spags has a plan for that, but he probably doesn't know whether it'll work, because 4x1, that's different. That's something new. I think you put McDuffie in the slot. That also helps out with the run game because of how good he is there. Mm-hmm. There's just a lot that you can do that with. A lot you can do with him from the slot. Utilizing him as a blitzer is a form, because everyone's asking about spying Josh Allen. Blitzing a corner is a form of that, because guys like Josh Allen, just like Patrick Mahomes, they are used to being able to outrun free rushers. You send a guy they can't outrun, it changes the entire dynamic of the play. And so I in terms of a spy, I wouldn't, the Chiefs just need to be really disciplined in their rushes and kind of play their backers to spy in zone. I would love to see Jaden Hicks given a shot at it, but what I would really love to see is them with some of those looping stunts that Minter used so well against Mahomes, to let's see if we can push that pocket on the interior with Chris Jones, and then he'll start to bail out like he always does, and see if you can send someone looping around right there. And then in the meantime, you got to have someone ready to clean up when he tries to step up through the B gap. It's kind of, well, you do this, I do this, you do this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you have to do it. And Nate, I'm going to be writing about this. I think stopping the run with the Bills will be a massive factor in this game, because Josh Allen has been playing incredibly smart football. Yes. He has played the best football of his career. He also has, in a weird way, even though he's got less technical receiving talent, but it's spread out everywhere, way better designed offense and a much better run game, you can almost see him understanding he doesn't need to put on the cape. And that has helped him tremendously. If you can force him to have to put on that cape snap after snap, down after down. Man, we're in the fourth quarter and it's a close game, but man, the Bills are still in it because they've converted 8 of 10 third and longs. Eventually, generally speaking, and maybe not, because Josh Allen's awesome at football. Eventually speaking, you might be able to force that mistake, that errant throw. You saw a few of them against the Ravens, where the ball just sails. The ball just isn't quite where he wants it. He still has those occasionally, but you got to force him to put on the cape. And it can't just be the running cape. If you just let him run, he'll just run. You got to force him to put on that cape over and over and over again and create, and you will eventually get a bad decision there.
All right, so here's where we're at. We'll huddle up here, guys. We got predictions to give and final thoughts. We've got Nate's fireside chat. I've got some shout outs I'd like to get to that I've accumulated over the last week or so. Nate, in terms of what you need to do, when do you want the fireside chat? Do you want that to be the literal final word? Do you want to get that going now?
It's up to you. It's up to you, Mr. Host.
I don't know. I don't know what the fireside chat is, but I feel like
That's
it
the
should
point.
be. I feel like it should be the final thing. All right, let's go to predictions then. You can pick a thing. You can give me a score. You can tell me what you think happens. Seth, you're up first.
I see, and look, I've always picked the Chiefs. I'm not going to stop now. Chiefs 30, Bills 24, in a way that's both closer and not quite as close as it sounds. What does that mean? You'll find out.
What is it? What is it that leads you there? Like, what's the thing? And the thing that we've talked about that I think does happen is.
I think the thing that we've talked about that does happen, I think the Chiefs are able to do just enough against the ground game to force Allen to put on the Superman cape one more time. And because he does it well enough, he gets them close, and then they'll be within 6. The Chiefs defense will force a stop. Then the Chiefs offense will go 3 and out and give them the ball back, and the Chiefs defense will have to get another stop. And that's just how it's always going to be, because they'll get the ball back up 6 with a chance to go up by 2 scores with like 8 minutes left, and we'll all be like, you're in the driver's. Oh, nope, now there's 7 minutes and 30 seconds left, and they're giving the ball back. Okay. I've seen that so many times with this team. But if the Bills do score there somehow, I'm more confident with the Chiefs down 1 with 1:30 left than I am up 6 with 8 minutes left in terms of the offense moving the ball. Even this iteration. Sure. Yeah. So that's what I think will happen. I'm just excited, man. These are 2 great teams. I'm just excited for it. I'm excited. Hopefully it's a really clean game by both teams, and we don't have to talk about a bunch of stupid crap. Whether the Chiefs win or lose, I hope the only conversation is about ball.
Nate, what's the prediction?
Chiefs 26, Bills 24. It's going to be a very close game, ladies and gentlemen. It could come down to a Harrison Butker field goal, so prepare yourself for that.
Range still unknown.
Yeah, I mean, what we gathered today from Dave Tobe is that it's pretty much going to be 55 and in. They will extend him if there's a perfect scenario at the end of the half, or obviously desperation, game winning or game tying kick involved. But yeah, another week he did look good against the Texans, so we should acknowledge that with Harrison Butker. I don't know if this game will be scored in the 30s, because I don't know if there'll be enough possessions, because these 2 teams don't mind having 8, 10, 14 play drives. Chiefs 26, Bills 24.
That's a really good point, Nate. I'm going to go ahead and just give the score that I wrote down earlier, but I actually think lowering the entire thing by a bit is probably the way to go. I got Chiefs 30, Bills 27. I'm not going to over 30 anymore. I learned my lesson last week. And really, that is a shameless 27 by the Chiefs defense. I think the points the Bills score are going to largely seem quite well earned, and I'm going to bet on Patrick Mahomes having one more scoring drive than the other team does in an AFC Championship game, because he tends to do that with some extremely rare exceptions. So I also think it is close. I think this game is 55-45, not final score, but percentages.
Yeah.
And man, I am very excited for this football game, but a little nervous too, which is how you know the season's officially begun now. Here on January 23rd, we've experienced for the first time, real tension, real winner go home kind of games.
Mm-hmm.
Seth, looked like you wanted to slide something.
I was just gonna say I was nervous last week, and I was nervous and upset at certain points during the game, especially when I saw how good the Texans pass rush was playing.
Yeah.
But after about midway through the second quarter, I was like, this is gonna be annoying, but they're gonna win this game.
Yep.
I have no idea what's going to happen Sunday, and I'm excited about that.
My real big question mark, I think, is just like we've talked about already, but the pass pro. If we come in and we go, okay, well, final score, Bills 27, Chiefs 13, like I think that it's going to be, and they never got a drop back passing game going. But I like to think that they would do something drastic if they can't do that through the first half of football. I don't know. We'll all find out together on Sunday. Before Nate gets the fireside chats and gets us out of here, I've got our not quite end of season. This is not an admission that the season's over. We're going to continue doing the show through the off season as well. But we did the KCSN watch party out at Holiday Distillery back in the divisional round. I went out there for that, had a great time. And this has also been a good season of people reaching out and sharing their stories or just their appreciation for this show, which is something that I perpetually am like sort of surprised by until I think about it, and then it makes sense again. But a unspeakable amount of gratitude from us to you, our faithful voyeurs or unfaithful voyeurs, as we covered earlier in today's show. I think we're fine with them too. But to know that we have been able to provide hopefully some information that you used or appreciated knowing throughout this season, but more than anything else, some camaraderie, spending some time talking about your favorite football team, our favorite football team, the team that we cover, being able to do that. I have so many movies, musical artists, other podcasts, things that I go to on a frequent basis in times of stress or just wanting to spend time in some other headspace or whatever it is. But when I hear that from other people about this show, it's almost always surprising, even though I understand that it probably shouldn't be. So huge shout outs to Martine Hepburn, had a really nice tweet that I tagged you guys in a week or two ago that was just, it sort of kicked some of that off. To Iced Pyro, who's in the chat right now. I sent you a DM over on the Bad Busted website, but I got my my shirt. I love it very much, and I need a follow-up question about that package, Iced Pyro, but I can't reveal it now. A big shout out to Tyler, who I met, who writes for KCSN, met him at the event, to Scott, who I met up at the event, to John, who sent us the picture a while back of him in front of Allegiant Stadium with the Chiefs Las Vegas Super Bowl flag. Shout out to John. Baller. And then a big shout out to Nate, aka Club Master Flex. Got a really nice message from him and have gotten to chat with him a little bit. And again, it is a persistent enough thing that I think I got to get used to it, but it is bizarre and truly wonderful to be able to provide literally whatever this show is, to whatever purpose it serves in your life. I am so glad to be able to help do that. Because also, man, you sit at these desks and you use these fingers to type about a football team for long enough. You think, man, I spend a lot of hours of my life talking and writing about a football team. Where's the moral good in this? Where does this meet the rest of the world? And oftentimes, all the time, it meets it with you listening or watching or however you consume this show. So a huge thank you from us to you in that regard. And I can't think of any better way to go into the AFC Championship game than with one of Nate's fireside chats.
Well, we've made it this far, friends, which means thank you. And let me give you proper historical perspective ahead of the 2024 AFC Championship game. Now, this reminds me to a time that was very formative in my life, okay? And we've discussed the burden. We've discussed who do you choose, the initial starter or the hot hand veteran who is technically coming in a backup role. I know for some people, hearing that last week was a bit unnerving. But the playoffs are about feeling emotion. If you don't care about this game, that's a problem. That's something wrong with you, okay? Because you're not going to get these games all the time. This is 7 straight AFC Championship games. You have to remember the pain so that it can better inform you as to what you're watching in real time, whether the Chiefs win or lose. So, I realize that the tables are actually turned. It took decades, years of these two franchises realizing that they have met perfectly at this place in time that is very reminiscent of the first Chiefs season I ever watched from start to finish. And that, my kids, is the 1993 season. If you will humor me for just a couple minutes, in 1993, the Chiefs were led by Joe Montana and Marty Schottenheimer. Yes, I know, a pair that to this day is hilarious, but it happened. And Joe Montana did something that reminded people of why he was and will always be a legend. Twice in the wild card round to the Pittsburgh Steelers, led by Neil O'Donnell, and to the Houston Oilers, their last playoff game ever as the Houston Oilers, led by then Warren Moon, came back from 10-point deficits in back-to-back weeks to reach the AFC Championship game. And no one wanted to talk about the Buffalo Bills. Not a soul. And I know you're like, well, why, Nate? I wasn't born in 1993. I don't have these memories. Well, you see, America had grown tired of Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Marv Levy, Bruce Smith. They were done. I don't want to see Andre Reed anymore. I don't want to see them anymore. In fact, based on how things are going in the NFC, it might be, unfortunately, Cowboys Bills again in Atlanta. Ugh. America, for the first time, fell in love with the Chiefs and fell in love with Joe Montana, with a loving partner in Marcus Allen, who was turning the clock back. Guys, it was a great day. It was a fun day. It's the reason why you watch all these games, because you get this particular day. One game between you and Super Bowl Sunday. And the better team won. Now, you might be asking, well, why are you bringing this up now, Nate? America's tired of watching your football team. America, by and large, is tired of Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones. Hell, they might be tired of seeing, I don't know, George Karlaftis at this point. You have to remember that the burden comes with plenty of unnecessary things you cannot predict, obstacles. When a team sets out to be a 3-time champion, when a team sets out to do something that has never been done in NFL history, they might not like you. And so everybody, for the most part, has fallen in love with Josh Allen because he's awesome. Okay? So when the Chiefs lost to the Buffalo Bills, there was a couple fans who put a sign together in the event that the Bills would win this game. And I looked up this sign. There was a couple. And it's just dawned on me that we could be in a similar task. Here's what it looks like. It says, "We're back. Deal with it, America." If the Chiefs win on Sunday, they might have a similar tone. So, how can I lead you into Arrowhead Stadium on Sunday confidently? Well, you have the better coach. You have the better quarterback. You have the better defensive tackle. You have the better kicker. You have the better record. One could argue you have the better home field advantage. You're the more rested team. You're the team that's healthier. You're the team that didn't have to get out of their house in a car, to a bus, to a plane, on a bus, to a hotel, on a bus, to the stadium. The burden is great, but until proven otherwise, you have the better team. And America might have to deal with it.
So why am I still nervous?